Hey Capricorn, it's Empress Rose here. Welcome to your reading. General reading, take what works, leave what doesn't. There will not be an extended. There hasn't been for this whole sort of round of zodiac signs. So take what works, leave what doesn't. Let's get to it. Oh, I did want to say that in the pre-shuffle, the card that came out repeatedly was the Three of Cups. This would be a social circle, a circle of friends, the friendship card, and the social circle card. So that's what was coming up. From the bottom of the deck, we have Seven of Wands, which was the other card that was coming up. So this is strength. Obviously, we've got our strong man here. But this is about making space for something you're passionate about. Making room for something that you really care about. Standing your ground. Insisting on... I don't want to say something... Well, maybe it is something that you want. Insisting on something that you want. Something that makes sense to you. And maybe something that you feel divinely called to or something like that. There's some sort of intuitive thing that this is where you need to go. And this is what you need to do. So we're not like harming others. We're, respecting good boundaries and all of that. But there is still like a no, I really want this kind of vibe. Past, present, inner landscape, what's at issue, environment, to-do list, possible outcome. So in the recent past, we have Three of Wands. Just overall, my first impression is that there's been some sort of, I want to be really careful with this message because it could be a little stalkery or a little insistent, but there's been some sort of rejection. And I think there's a desire or a question of, do I persist here? Do I go further? So I don't want to, there's a sense of needing to respect other people's boundaries and both for your sake and for their sake. But there is a sense of also something that you want. So we have a couple people here. We have three people. And one major arcana, only one major arcana. It's death. So we're talking about a situation changing and transforming, or how you view a situation changing and transforming. In the recent past, we have Three of Wands. We have a vision. We have seeing where we want to go. We're not necessarily in it. I love all the intuition around her, all of the messages. I mean, she's just got this swarm of birds. And birds, I see usually, especially with this artist, are messages. Intuitive messages, understanding. And again, it's a Wands card. So we're talking about passion, intuition, but this is all about the future. Obviously, we can see her looking to the future. She's got sort of a plan here. She's right by the ocean, but she's she's up high. She's just really got that overview vision, that idea. She's seeing a long ways off in the distance about what something could be, how something could happen, the potential of a situation. So she's got a vision, and not only that, she's got a little bit of understanding of how to get there and how she's going to get to that far horizon. She's understanding too, I think, in a more intellectual way, the interconnectedness of all things, the way in which things can grow in a certain direction, the way in which things become intertwined with time. There's also an intentionality. It's almost like you've been playing some sort of long game with something. You saw the potential, but you knew you were going to have to lay some sort of groundwork or framework for it. And intentionally interweave your paths in a way, intentionally create crossover. When you get to that horizon, it's not going to be some sort of accident, right? You saw it. You envisioned it. You, in the past, right? We're talking about sort of a back to the future idea where you're in the past and you're looking into and you were able to see something. You were able to understand something and also understand how to get there and the practicalities of it, how to build this. and how to get there. And you understood too that you had the tools and the means to do it. But the current situation is this Death card. It's not necessarily that you don't want to go in the same place. It's that you're shifting what the important parts of that are, right? In my series over on Vimeo on the Major Arcana, we talk about sort of this road trip that you're going on. And the Death card is an understanding that, so the road trip is just, the destination is the vehicle for the experience. Like what you really wanted was to spend some time with your kids or with your spouse. That's what you really wanted. So even though there have been sort of some slowdowns and some unexpected twists and turns, you're understanding that the destination, the, camping trip at Arches National Park was just the destination, and was just there to give you the vehicle to build this connection or build this community, especially since we were talking about friendship, or build this relationship. So maybe, there was like a romantic relationship that you saw potential in, but it's really becoming a deep friendship instead. Or maybe there was a deep friendship and you're understanding that it has a different meaning now. So this is a very internal shift that you're having, an internal perspective. I especially love it here that we have this internal perspective, and it has to do with how you see yourself and your role in the situation. It has to do with letting go of something, letting go of a preconceived idea. You definitely had a preconceived idea, and that was important. These two together are looking like a redirection to me, a different card from a different deck, but that's what they look like together. It's like you had a direction that propelled you to where you are now. Where you are now, though, you're almost changing the direction. Like it's almost like, okay, well, we made it to Arches National Park, but you know what? I think we want to go to Bryce Canyon. I think we want to go over there. Or, we made it to the park, and the park is beautiful and I love it. But what I really love here is that, right, we had this vision, we were going to go somewhere, far distant horizon, but you're realizing that what you really loved was spending time with these people, or something else like that. Like, especially since we had that friendship card come up in the pre-shuffle so many times, like you're realizing that, yeah, you're very you had this goal, you were goal oriented, you were very focused on achieving that goal. But at this point, you're like, yeah, that goal is great, but you're really understanding that the journey was more important than the destination. And so there's some sort of shift in your perspective about the destination, or about what you saw and where you wanted to go. And the more you're able to submit in death and allow the change, the easier it is. So you're not rigidly holding on to the form that something has been, or the vision that has been. You're allowing changes to come in, and even changes in what you want, changes in how you perceive yourself, changes in self definition, as far as like heading towards this goal and towards this thing that you really desire. You're changing within. It's almost like what you desired was an external result, but what's happening is an internal shift. This is like for you, like maybe your desire was like, I'm going to create this thing for all these other people. I'm going to bring my community, my family, we're all going to do this thing together for them. And now you're really understanding that there's some part of it that's actually deeply for you, and that you don't, that this isn't about pleasing other people or having a vision for others. This is about you and something shifting inside you. And it could be your self perception. The very definition, or one of the definitions of who you are, could be gracefully giving way to a new way of being. So it looks like redirection, like you had a direction, you were headed there, and then now that you're like on your way, you're realizing that that destination isn't necessarily for you. So in your environment, you have Page of Swords, you have a student, it could be a child. This isn't your environment, this is internally. This is your hopes and fears. You could be afraid of having to start over, especially if you're having this big shift and turn. Okay, well, I knew everything about, Arches National Park and where to camp and what we were going to do. But now that we've changed our mind and we want to go, and I realized I actually just wanted to go to Bryce Canyon. Now that I'm going there, I'm going to have to like learn, like, okay, I have to redo my route. I have to figure out lodging there. I have to figure out what exactly did I want to see there. There's this whole like back to the beginning of something where maybe you don't really feel up to that. Like what you're wanting out of the situation is changing, but you're not necessarily really excited about having to learn a whole new thing. There could also be a student or a child here that's very much on your mind. The page is all about student. It's all about learning, initial learning stages of something, beginner mind. You could be not looking forward to having to be a beginner. But and swords are about learning something intellectual. So it is about book learning and all of that. So you could be not looking forward to, or you could be excited about school and going back to school or going to be a student. You could be thinking about a student, a child or a student, or you could be worried about a child or a student. You could be worried and annoyed that you have to go back to the drawing board and reread everything, or read a new book, or read a new travel book, or whatever the metaphor we're working with here. So what's the issue here is King of Pentacles in reverse. So a king is going to be providing initiative and leadership. King of Pentacles, typically very well planned out. This is almost looking like I mean, with our metaphor of the trip, this is sort of like, this is a very impulsive decision. Our king usually isn't very impulsive. So there's either like a leadership vacuum, or there is a leader that is being very impulsive. That is not usually the case. So we're dealing with Capricorn here in Earth sign. We're dealing with Pentacles, which is Earth-based. So in a lot of ways, this can represent you. You might be out of sorts. You might be out of your element. This could be causing a challenge to your definition of self. Like normally you can like envision something and accomplish it. You can plan out a vacation and you can get there and go there and everything goes according to plan. But you're changing, and maybe this isn't that. Maybe this is no longer what you want to do. Maybe this is no longer who you are. But this is Capricorn out of sorts. This is this could be somebody else in the situation too that is supposed to be providing leadership, and possibly a masculine in the situation who is disorganized, maybe broke. And what's interesting is there was this whole vision. This person's a real planner, and that's what I was getting from this card, and more of the planning aspect. Planning out the future, realizing you don't necessarily want that future anymore, and maybe that's not even a suitable future for you, and maybe you planned out that future on behalf of someone else. Maybe you planned out that future on behalf of this child or this student. Your kid said they wanted to go to Arches. You're realizing you want to go to Bryce. There's some sort of confusion. There might be some sort of lack of funds, lack of money. This hasn't been successful so far, and maybe that's what's causing this death, this inner transformation. Is like, this plan hasn't been successful, so now what do I do? So there's something here. What we're not getting is strong, planned out leadership success. We're getting the exact opposite. Perhaps a leadership vacuum, perhaps an obvious lack of success, monetary or otherwise. But in the real world, something hasn't been as successful. There was this whole plan and something hasn't been as successful as you want. And this can be causing a challenge to your sense of self, your self-definition. In the environment, we have Four of Cups. We have, perhaps you have made an offer and someone is either not acknowledging that offer or they are refusing the offer. This sometimes looks like it's a 4. So we're talking about like sort of this inner thing on the inner side of the Kabbalah tree of life. And we're talking about maybe some overindulgence. So perhaps something has been tried too many times and it's no longer going to work this time. It's like trying to get into Narnia or make the magic happen, right? There were different methods as the kids grew older. There were different ways that they entered into this magical realm, but it couldn't be the same way over and over again for the rest of their lives, right? So that's a little bit of what I'm seeing here is like there's a refusal, like she's refusing, but then also look at this umbrella. Is this umbrella even for her? Because it looks like it's raining inside the umbrella. Like this looks like a nice offer, a great protection. Maybe someone from a distance or someone from above with a vision is like, this is a great offer, but this person doesn't want this. It almost looks like it's creating shade for them. It's creating like rain for them. It's an unnecessary offer. And you know, we can say, wow, she should really turn around and thank this goose for this BS. But she doesn't want to. So this is going on in your environment. Someone, maybe you've made an offer or you've made a proposal and someone either hasn't responded to it or doesn't want it. This would cause me to reconsider whether this person, whether my proposal, like if someone makes a proposal, someone receives a proposal and then we negotiate. This person doesn't want whatever you're proposing, whatever you want. And you are coming in with this sort of insistent energy that could be, and the way this isn't working out could be very challenging to your sense of self. This person doesn't want what you're offering. I don't know why. It just doesn't feel like an offer to them. They're rejecting it. Maybe this can be lots of things, right? This can be, we were talking about like a people group that you're part of, a social circle that you're part of, and maybe someone just doesn't want what you're offering right now or doesn't see it has value to them. That's not an invitation for you to say it does have value. You have to receive this. This is sort of like, you're coming in with some really insistent energy. So maybe, yeah, maybe it's okay for people to not want what you're offering right now, right? It doesn't mean that you're terrible. It doesn't mean that you're offering bad things. It doesn't mean that, you know, you don't have value or anything like that. It's just that's not what this person wants. So they just don't want what you're offering. You have this whole vision, this whole idea. It's not been successful. This is very challenging for you to accept. Your to-do list is 9 of Pentacles. So this is you know, pre-Empress energy. This is our minor arcana Empress. She is successful. So you have been successful in something. Like maybe you were successful in, you know, getting as far as Utah on your road trip. Maybe you were successful in a lot of things, but this is enjoying what you have succeeded at, right? And I'm seeing like, there's just this like bevy of birds and communication. And here you do have one though. You have caught something. It's yours. So the 9 of Pentacles is looking to me as like, look at where you have been successful. Look at where you have created your own success. I mean, are you looking to this person for this, you know, unsuccessful, like this is the problem, is being unsuccessful in a certain aspect. And then you're, with the Death card coming in over this, you're being asked to change your perspective and see where you have been successful, see what you have achieved here, right? We're looking at a changed perspective in the face of non-success. And this could be someone who isn't successful, but you're supposed to be looking at where you have been successful and shifting your perspective. Like maybe you didn't get to where you wanted to go, but you did get somewhere, right? If you're starting in New York and you're trying to get, and you're on a road trip to Arches National Park, maybe you don't make it to Arches National Park. Maybe the other person bails on the trip. Maybe something happens, but hey, you did make it to like Texas, so that's cool. And maybe you got to know this person a little more, and maybe you you know, were able to enjoy the time, because that was the whole point, was enjoying your time with this person, was enjoying your time on this earth with someone. So so this is just looking at where you are successful, being proud of the success you have achieved, being proud of how far you have come in this process, being proud of all sorts of the successful aspects of this process, and not necessarily being so focused on, you know, one person not wanting this, or the parts where it doesn't feel successful. So changing your focus and shifting your focus from a lack of success to where the parts that have been successful on this journey and this thing you planned out in this whole vision. Possible outcome, Queen of Cups. This is interesting because I always find it interesting when there's a person in the possible outcome. Is this you? Is this someone you'll be meeting? Is this someone you're going to be interacting with? Let's talk about this person. They're going to be male or female. They're not sharing their feelings though, especially in this one. I mean, I usually get that with most Queen of Cups. Their feelings are very internal. They're not talking about them. They're not saying anything about them. Feelings are private. They're ours. Nobody has to talk to anybody about how they feel. It's sometimes a good idea. It's sometimes a very bad idea, very risky. So this could be you. This could be somebody else, but this is like, we're clammed up here. We're not talking. There is a sense, the seahorse has so much father figure energy in it. And there's also this King of Pentacles here, which also has in the upright a good father figure energy, and in the reversal could be a very bad or difficult masculine leader or masculine head of household, head of masculine or feminine, male or female, but it has a masculine energy. So there's two things referencing fathers. This one's representing sort of a shitty dad, bad dad. And this one is sort of maybe even contemplating that, thinking about that, considering your experiences of fatherhood is just what I'm seeing here. But there's like a depth of emotion going on, and this person doesn't share it. And this might be you, this might be somebody else. There's just an exploration, a very honest exploration though, of how they're feeling. And it's not that they can't share or shouldn't share. I'm not saying anybody shouldn't share their emotions. We're just talking, we have a Queen of Cups. We have someone with a lot of feelings that they're not going to be opening up about, but they are exploring and considering. So, all right. Well, changing your focus from what didn't go the way according to plan to what were the successful elements from this experience. And our wild Kuan Yin, now is the time to be open to what will be. Embrace your destiny, beloved. It is calling you forward, even while it is hurtling towards you. Your time is now. Well, that sounds exciting, especially if we're talking about the metaphor of a road trip, moving forward. And this is almost like Arches National Park is also going to be driving towards you. You're actually going to meet somewhere in the middle. And then now is the time, some sort of, right? The dawn is here. Looking to the future, again, we have this. It's interesting because they're both looking to the future, but now's the time to be moving towards the future. So there is still movement. And the current situation, there's a lot of success in your current situation. So, all right, Capricorn, hope that was helpful for you. Thanks for joining me over here on YouTube.